And we're back. It's your boy, Edwardo Jackson, CEO, founder, creator of the great Cinema Draft game. And we are welcoming back our longtime Cinema Draft player, defender, gladiator, gaming enthusiast. It's your boy, the HebrewHammer. It's Mike Strenger.
Hello, hello. Don't forget on my my list of accolades there, Cinema Draft Mom's favorite player. Okay, I take much pride in that title. So
what I do believe at one point she did say that. I think it's a runoff between you and Jay Devlin. I will check with the draft mom right after this, guaranteed. And so, how's your quarantine going? I have to ask every guest because it's reality of life. But how's your quarantine going?
It's good, man. It's good. Honestly, it's not much of a quarantine. I've been working through the whole thing. My wife's been working, but it's going. It's a different normal. I'm more thankful than ever that I live in a house with a backyard where I can get outside and keep my sanity and not have to be stuck inside. But we push through and we keep it going.
100%. Well, glad to hear it. We all got to do what we need to do to get by. And what I like to do is podcast. So let's get to my favorite segment, what we're watching. That's right. And I had quite a weekend. I went back to my childhood, to my past. I went back to the future, the Back to the Future trilogy. Very exciting for me to rewatch it. It's been, actually, I think I used to have the box set. I usually would just go straight for Back to the Future 2, but I actually took the time to do the whole trilogy, and it was outstanding. I know you've probably seen it, but what are your memories of Back to the Future, if anything?
Well, I'll date myself here, Ed, but I just saw on the IBDM that what was the release date on that?
1985.
Right. So I wasn't even born yet. I don't remember the release of Back to the Future.
Young
Sick but obviously I have seen all three. But I grew up in the generation where the Nike Air Mags and the self-lacing shoes were actually close to a reality and actually exist now. So I'm still waiting on my hoverboard. But other than that, a real one, not one with two wheels. Other than that, obviously. Every time it's on, I think it counts as one of those movies of the list that it just ends up staying on, right? You flip through, you see it's on, and the next thing you know, you've watched the whole movie again. So, that would be my take on it.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so much of it to love. It really does hold up. I usually, so what I found interesting in this rewatch is that there's almost like a third layer of joke. So it's so aggressively of its time, of 1985. I saw it in theaters. I think my mom took me to it. I think it was like 9. Summer of 85, so it was 9, and loved it. Couldn't wait for the sequels, which took 4 years. It was kind of annoying, but when they came around, it was like back to back. One came out summer 89, then 3 came out summer of 90, and which was really rare back then. Like they rarely shot films back to back then, and what the third layer of the joke though is that it's so aggressively of its time that you're already laughing about the comedy within the actual movie, but then you're also laughing at how 1985 it is, and then you're also laughing at how, from your 2000 perspective, of not only the fashion, what they're saying. I mean, all of Michael J. Fox's slang, I guess, was current at the time. Everything's heavy and far out, but it's so 80s. It's like, oh, okay, that's really funny, but it still holds up. It's a great trilogy. The 1 and 2 obviously are the best. 3, not bad, but not as good as the first 2. Penalty that it really shouldn't matter to me, to most people. But to me, Back to the Future 2 is great because it really gave you a colorful vision of the future. And I was like kind of too young to really be into Blade Runner at the time. And so Back to the Future 2, I think, was one of the first movies that really showed a future that looked fun. I mean, weird colors, auto mag or auto lace Nikes and hoverboards, and I'm still waiting on my flying car. Damn it! Back to the Future Day already passed, October 21st, 2015. No flying car. Come on, Elon, get on that.
Yeah, like I said, so that one, I think the release date said 89, right? So again,
summer 89.
I have a unique. I was 1, so I have a unique perspective of a lot of these movies, the trilogies and things that people love from, in my world back in the day. I got to watch back to back to back. I didn't have to wait 4 years, right?
Yeah.
I got to just rip through them because they all existed already. So
well,
definitely a different viewing experience for sure.
Yeah, because I remember seeing it too. I think I was summer going to freshman year maybe, and so I remember seeing it at we used to have these one screen movie palaces, and that was definitely one that was packed to the gills. I remember seeing from the balcony of the 6th and Blanchard Theater. Such great times, really love it. So yes, that was what I was watching this weekend, and also I can't forget, we must give it up for Alan Silvestri's score, probably one of the top 5 musical scores in history. Just, I mean, when you hear the theme music, dun, 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 I mean, it just gets you ready to run through walls. So I love that score. Big shout out to Alan Silvestri, still doing it after all these years, scoring for the Avengers movies. So keep getting the checks, man. Keep getting the checks. And from our DraftStream game, what I did watch this weekend was The Lovebirds. Have you had a chance to check out The Lovebirds?
I did, so it's funny. I know we're going to discuss what I've been watching, but I have yet to watch anything from the call sheet. And I'll explain why later. But yeah, I've yet to watch a single show or movie that has, with the exception of the Jordan documentary, that has been on the call sheet the past few weeks.
Well, since we are not sponsored yet or anything, you're in a safe space. It's perfectly fine. I took the hit for us. I watched The Lovebirds, and I have to admit I was extremely excited about this movie when I saw all the advertising in theater. They've been promoting it since roughly January, and then of course they made the pivot to streaming, like we all have, and it just doesn't hold up. It's okay. I love the idea of these two in a relationship. I love the way they set it up too. The relationship is on the verge of breaking up, and they're both inherently funny people. They're okay together. It's fine. But what we normally don't get to see is two romantic leads who are people of color who, are actually in the middle of just kind of a regular adventure kind of murder mystery thing. So I like that aspect to it. It's got its moments, but I think I rated it 6 out of 10 on IMDb, and that's kind of where it ended up. Issa Rae, I saw her other film that came out earlier this year, The Photograph. I mean, I know I know a lot of people really loved it. I did not. I just felt like she had no chemistry with our boy Lakeith Stanfield, but I really want to see her succeed on film. She's great in Insecure. I love Insecure, aka the Black Civil War. When it comes on every week on Twitter, it's great. But this movie, it just didn't quite click for me, so I'm still waiting for her to break out. Keep getting those checks though, Issa.
It was rated what though? No, I think when I logged up Netflix the other day, number 3. USA Today had it number 3 on Netflix top 10.
Hopefully it pays off. Yeah, hopefully it pays off as an investment for Netflix. And I want both these guys to succeed. I want them both to keep getting their checks. I paid money to see Stuber, or actually I used my AMC A-list to see Stuber. It wasn't great, but I keep getting those swings at bat. Kumail, hilarious in Silicon Valley. May that show rest in peace. That was a fun show, and just not quite the vehicle for both of them. But I'm glad they're getting some shine. So what are you watching, Mike?
So I've kind of I've taken the quarantine and used it to catch up on a lot of shows that I either just didn't have the time to sit down and watch, or people said were great and I didn't get to watch them. So the most recent show I just finished was actually Good Omens on Amazon Prime, which had rave reviews to start, and then people had all these great things to say. It looked interesting, and I just never got to watch it. So that was my most recent binge.
So what do you think of it? Did you like it?
I enjoyed it.
Started, and we watched the first episode and we were kind of out.
No, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. I thought it could have been, it wasn't as geared towards the adult viewing audience as I thought it was going to be, right? It became very PG-13 towards the middle of the season, I would say. And then followed up and finished that way. They crammed a lot into one season of a show, right? I think they could have done probably 2 seasons of what they did, fleshed it out, and it would have been a better show. But I enjoyed it for what it was, and the filming of it, the writing I thought was super top notch, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I'd watch it again, from start to finish.
All right, and something else you were watching? Do you have anything else you were watching?
Well, that was the most recent, and then I actually I've gone back into the vault again, and I have restarted Sopranos for probably the fifth time, start to finish. And so, yeah, like I said, I've really been going back. I gave our good friend and podcast player, or podcast guest, Jay Devlin, a shot, and threw Lost on, and I just couldn't do it. I know that's blasphemy to a lot of people, but I got through about, I want to say 6 to 8 episodes, and I couldn't do it. The big train smoke monster, I couldn't do it.
No, yeah. Fair enough. And what's interesting about Lost is that they take I don't know how realistic a plane crash on a desert island premise is, but as realistically as possible, the ultimate what if scenario, and then they take a decided turn towards like the mystical. And if you're just not on board, then I get it, you're not on board. I personally loved Lost. I haven't done a rewatch. I might do a rewatch one of these days. I haven't done a rewatch of The Sopranos either. I just watched it in real time and enjoyed it. But now I'm feeling a bit inspired. I've got so much of a backlog of my cultural myopia to take care of. Like I just started The Shield, haven't seen The Shield before. There are shows like that I need to take care of. But yeah, a rewatch The Sopranos is in order, and now you gotta be kind of inspired for rewatching Lost.
Yeah, I just couldn't. I caught a lot of heat and I caught a lot of flack for it, but I couldn't. I had to bow out.
Jay Devlin does love him some Lost. Yeah,
I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. So
well, fair enough. Well, great stuff. Let's move on to our next segment, and this is going to be the top 5 movies you wished you could watch again for the very first time. Great, and I gotta give it up to you, Strenger. It's your idea. Great subject. I mean, I've got like a list of some ideas to cover. This was definitely not on it, so I love you bringing this idea to us for the Cinema Draft podcast audience. So let's go over the rules real quick of how this works. You name a movie you wish you could have watched again for the first time. Once we alternate picks. Once someone picks that movie, it is out of play. And I rarely do I have to do too much advanced prep for these podcasts, but because you came with such a strong idea, I actually had to think this through. So I'm ready. I've got 10 titles, so you can pick every single one of them. I'm covered. All right, 10 titles. You are our guest, aka DraftStream's favorite. So you go first. What you got?
So I will be knocking one off of your list for sure with this one.
Okay.
But I gotta preface this, right? So the movies that are on this list are by far not the top 5 greatest movies, I think, at all, right? I have different reasons for all of my picks. That whether it's just they were so good the first time I watched them, or I rewatched them 100 times and wish I could experience them the first again. But I'll start with one that I know is on both of our lists, with Get Out, and keep it recent.
Fuck. God dang it! How'd you know? No. Got me. Wow. Well done. Go ahead. Speak your rationale. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think the rationale speaks for itself, right? Phenomenal movie that it holds up for multiple views. But I think that even though every time you watch it, the first couple of times you pick up on other things, you see things that you didn't see the first time. That very first time watching it, it was just, it was a lot to take in. It was a lot to process. And just phenomenal movie overall.
No. Go
ahead. You can join me in your sunken place and let me know what you think.
Phenomenal pick, Strenger. You're playing the game the way that you played, as per usual. And yeah, the reason why I did Get Out, if for nothing else, for one scene only. It could be the entire thing's a ride. You don't know where it's going with this, especially if you saw like the opening weekend before any real word got out or expectation. I saw it I think on a Thursday night preview as anticipated. And what was great about this, it's a great viewing experience with an audience in the theater when they don't know what's going to happen. But one scene alone, especially for a black man, at the very end when it looks like she's going to get away with it and the cop car's coming and we're like, oh God, he's fucked. I think I saw it in Vegas, and so the audience was probably mixed with her, but every black person had that sunken feeling, oh my God, the cops are not going to help, and it's our boy, it's Lil Rel Howery's TSA cop coming to save the day. It was phenomenal. So just for that scene alone, it's definitely an experience that that you watch the first time, you'll never be able to duplicate that feeling. But what's the next best thing is, I think a week later I brought a woman I was dating to see it, and it was with the audience, and she also had to kind of pit and drop me some. And watching other people experience that for the first time is almost as good as watching it for the first time. Excellent pick. Damn you, literally crossing it out.
Well, now, you got to be honest, right? If I don't go, what's that? It's got to be a top 3, no?
Oh, I don't have them in any order per se. I just have like 10 because I know this order's gonna get fucked up. So I'm sorry. So since you set the terms, my dude, I'm going off top rope as well. Empire Strikes Back. Damn it! I was 5 when I saw this. It was a 5, 4.5, maybe 4.5, 5. I think it came out that summer. Anyways, and I couldn't get all of the themes. I couldn't get it all entirely, but I will never forget. The one scene where he goes, and spoiler alert, I guess this entire podcast will be a spoiler alert, damn it. When he goes, Luke, I am your father. God damn. That is what definitely, I mean, you will never, as a child, you will never get over that feeling. You will never get over that feeling of finding out that the biggest villain in probably cinematic history up to that point is the father of our hero. Darth Vader becoming Luke Skywalker's, or revealing he's Luke Skywalker's father. There's nothing that beats that. It's just insane. I mean, when you see the very real, scrunched up face of Mark Hamill going, no, it's impossible. I mean, you felt that in the pit of your stomach. It's what an incredible first time watching experience, especially as a kid. Hopefully, Strenger, when you watch this, it was as a child, because there's nothing like seeing that entire original OG trilogy through childlike eyes. The bantha monsters, the tauntauns, the speeders, Ice Hoth. I mean, everything was just movie making on the grandest scale for a child. It really is. And it looks like we might have lost Strenger. Hopefully he'll jump back into this. We love his input on this. But yeah, this is definitely my movie for number 2. All right, looks like he dropped off and we'll be jumping back on. We're gonna keep rolling, damn it. I have a couple more things to say about Star Wars, about Empire Strikes Back. Just the effortless cool of Han Solo. Man, I mean, obviously this probably wouldn't be so PC today, but I remember because of Han Solo, I would go around calling girlfriend sweetheart because he's just so cool doing it. I mean, yes, he was being sarcastic half the time with Princess Leia, but Harrison Ford's Han Solo was so cool with the whole sweetheart and his effortless charm. Every kid wanted to be Han Solo when they grew up. Every kid. It was great. So anyway, this is just I'll never ever forget the Luke, I'm your father scene as a kid. Just incredible. Just incredible filmmaking. Incredible and just incredible for my childhood. And the way it left with the cliffhanger where you wanted a Return of the Jedi like tomorrow. Just a phenomenal. I'm glad I have such a truncated memory of those years, because I can't imagine waiting 3 years for for resolution like that. It was just it was great. Just what a great movie. Empire Strikes Back. Oh, and the Carbonite scene too. I mean, you just had no idea where this whole franchise could go. Very scary, very, very gripping. Just loved it. Okay, so since we lost Strenger, I'm gonna go on to my next movie, which is going to be, let's go with, actually, because I mentioned it, I'm going to go with Back to the Future 2. We already mentioned it to an extent, why it's such a great movie. Back to the Future 2. But it works as a great first-time viewing experience because I'd never seen a vision of the future that was so bright and so hopeful. Because you had all the inventions. And also, what they did with the multiverse. This is my first exposure to the multiverse. What is this coming out? 89? So yeah, I think I'm 13 at the time this comes out. I had no concept of realistic versions of time travel. It's different. But I like the fact that they made it so it's easy to follow along. It's easy to figure out, okay, well, if they do this and this makes a ripple, then it creates an alternate timeline. Like, you know, we weren't as sophisticated with the multiverses back then in the mainstream as we are now with the Avengers and what have you. And I mean, people have been doing time travel shows forever, but this one really made it accessible to the masses, especially the kids my age. I mean, the score, the Alan Silvestri score, just powers you through this entire film, and just seeing all the ramifications, and yes, the whole photograph thing with him disappearing is hokey, but it gave a nice little tangible totem to hold on to, and a marker of their progress or lack thereof, and really added the emotional stakes to the entire thing. I think, even though it's almost sacrilege saying that Back to the Future, you know, 1 is an inferior movie to Back to the Future 2, but I admit that I enjoyed and still enjoy Back to the Future 2 much better because of the future, because of seeing the stuff that we really thought in 1989 was going to be accessible within 30 years. I'm still waiting. Like I said, I'm still waiting on my floating car, damn it. But, you know, hoverboards, I mean, it's just such a great, hopeful vision of the future that everyone really can get behind. We're kind of there. We're getting there with holograms. It's going to be a while before the flying car. There are some startups that are doing it. Hydrated food, I don't know if that sounds like a good idea. But I just really love this movie. I really, really love this movie. The color, the optimism, even when it gets dark, and just the sense of adventure in these type of movies. Just great. Just totally, totally great.
Recording.
Strenger is back from the car this time. Welcome back, Strenger. And in your absence, I went ahead and did my first film, which was Empire Strikes Back. Took that off the board real quick. And also Back to the Future 2. What is your second film that you wish you could see again for the very first time?
So I just want to remind you, you did go 2 films pre my birth again, right? So I think those are safe plays. I don't think I was picking anything that came out before I was born.
You know what? Good point, and I will adjust my strategy accordingly. Thank you for mentioning.
That's all right. That's all right. So my next one, I think, it may or may not be on your list. I thought it should have made the show last week, but I'm going to go Rounders. For anybody like myself, like yourself, right? Anybody who's played a significant amount of cards in their life, or just enjoys gambling in any aspect, right? Stellar cast, probably, in my opinion, one of the most, I guess if you want to call it a realistic view of what that underground card scene is like, right, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, his life of law school and all that. If you watch the World Series of Poker, you'll hear a lot of law school students or dropouts who are sitting at those tables. So just overall a great movie. Like I said, the gambling aspect of it was spot on for the most part. And just you know, again, a movie I'll watch every single time it's on. Would love to experience it again for the first time for sure.
100% great movie. I mean, it not only is it the definitive poker movie, it's probably the only great poker movie. Whereas they depict, you know, the action. I mean, well, some parts are a little unrealistic. I mean, when you think about it, he sat down against, you know, Johnny Chan with 10 big blind and is like with 3 betting him. Okay, but aside from,
you've got to spice it up somehow. Come on.
Yeah, no. I get it, but I mean, but I love. For poker players, though, we love this movie. It's the movie it's probably the only thing in poker that we all can agree on, and it's just such a it's just such a it really makes it seem sexy and cool. It kind of I'm not sure if it kicked off like a poker boom per se. It definitely kicked off a little poker boom among my friends. I was living in LA at the time, I think, when this 98. Yes. Oh, actually, no. I saw this in Chicago. Then I moved out to LA. We started doing home games, stuff like that after this, pre-Moneymaker Effect, but this definitely kind of got us more interested into it. And of course, Teddy KGB, aka John Malkovich, that accent, so over the top Russian.
I mean, I'd go out as far to say probably one of the most quotable gambling movies ever.
Yes. Backwards and forwards. I mean, pay that man his money.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows check, 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 right?
Yes. I speak it for you. I speak it for you. That's such a great movie. Good pick. All right, so we're gonna snake style this. What's your what's your next pick? What's your third one?
Oh, okay. We'll go me again. So third one was on my list was Inception.
Oh, interesting. Okay, you tell. Now it's funny that you mentioned that this is one you want to see again for the first time. So give me a rationale. I'll tell you why it was not on my list. I did consider it, but it's not on my list.
Okay. Yeah, so it was on my list, off my list, back and forth. I tried to avoid the major blockbusters, if you want to call it that, but I still kept finding myself back at this movie. I think, so to me, I like the fact that after I saw it the first time, I was like, I know I'm going to need to see this movie a handful more times to understand what I just watched, right, and to process it all. And so that feeling at the end is what made me want to put it on the list, because I felt like there was just so much the first time through that, again, kind of like Get Out, right? You had to process it. There was so much going on. It left you on the edge with that whole, did it fall? Did it not fall at the end? That huge debate and battle that happened post original, weekend. Just a phenomenal, all around movie in my, my opinion.
No, it's a top notch movie for me. Probably one of my favorites. I love it. I've watched it numerous times and introduced numerous people to it. My only reason why I left it off my list is that the first time I saw it in theater, it was great. Opening day, whatever, packed crowd, whatever. I think I might even seen it on IMAX. I wanted to see it on the biggest screen possible. And I got maybe 75, 80% of it the first time through, enough to really enjoy it in the moment, but I felt like I was swimming underwater the entire time. I was always playing catch up, which is how he does it by design. He designs his movies for multiple viewings. I must saw Dunkirk like 4 times in the theater in different formats just to catch it all. It was great. So he designs movies for multiple viewings, which is, that's just great business. But also, I just felt like I was drowning half the time in trying to keep up with the logic of it all. That's the only reason why I left it off mine, because the way I approached my list was movies that, when seeing for the first time, that I either got completely or had like an initial thrill of discovery. This gave me too much to discover. Too much thrills. So I think that this is, if we had a follow-up pod, maybe next time you're on, of movies that were better the second time around, this is definitely on it. Actually, that's a great idea. Actually, let's book that. What are you doing? What are you doing in July, Strenger? Movies the second time around. Okay, write that down. All right. And looks like losing you a little bit. Looks like you're getting a red on your connection that says it's poor. So if we lose you, apologies to the audience and the draft mom. Oh, there he is. Up a little choppy. But I will go ahead with my next film, see if we can give your connection a chance to catch up. My next film is, you know what? Oh, okay, I was actually playing the game badly and do another pre-birth film, so I will stick to one that you might have actually had a shot at. Wow, I'm old. All these are like old movies. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go with one I just like. It was recently featured on a Bill Simmons Rewatchables. I'm going to go with Armageddon. This one also, you were probably 10, maybe, when this came out. So it might not have made your list. I love Armageddon. I'll never forget where I was when I saw this. I was it was the summer after my first year at grad school, grad acting school at the Paul Theater School. Fuck you guys, because you guys kicked me after 1 year. Long, boring story. Not going to tell it for the pod. Anyways, it was that summer, summer 98. 21, 22. My friend from college was in town. Her and her girlfriend, the three of us, went to go see it at a packed to the gills theater as a midnight showing, just when midnight showings were becoming a thing. 4th of July weekend, I believe, in Chicago. What a great weekend. We did the Taste of Chicago, all that sort of stuff. It's a great weekend. Packed theater down, I think it was off Wabash in Chicago, downtown Chicago. And it was amazing. And it was one of those films where, and it's a bit of a cliche, but it's one of those quote unquote man type films where we all almost kind of cry at the end, where Harry Stamper, Bruce Willis, is about to sacrifice himself to save the planet, and you see tears welling up in Ben Affleck's eyes, and it just gets you. And this whole thing. The funny thing about this is I didn't even realize until I listened to that episode of the Rewatchables. I think it had Bill Simmons, Chris Ryan, Shea Serrano on it. I think Shea was like, or maybe it was Jason Concepcion too. I think Jason said that it is easily the most right-wing blockbuster film in history, and they ticked off the things, the anti-Greenpeace, flags everywhere, super jingoistic, and it was. And guess what? No one cared. We love it. We bought it. It was fine. And it's still kind of subversively funny seeing him hitting golf balls under the Greenpeace tanker and calling him peacenik, hippie freaks, whatever. It was fine because everything else about this movie just kicked ass. Look at this lighting, the blue lighting of when they're up there in the I think, is that the training pod, or they're on the space station maybe, or he's telling him how to flip the switch. I mean, the lighting, the whole thing is just Michael Bay at his finest. Super commercial, super just 4-quadrant audience, right down the middle fastball. I mean, great special effects at the time. I love this movie. Armageddon. What are your feelings about Armageddon? I know you've seen this at least twice, right? Well, I think you're kind of frozen there in time, Strenger. We might have to.
I've
There you go.
seen it. Honest, and I probably can't.
Oh no! You know what, Strenger? I'm sorry. I think we are going to have to lose you. Your connection has been lost. No problem. We'll keep moving on that. But it'd be interesting to see what Stranger's thoughts are. Maybe we'll come back around to him in the newsletter, get his thoughts for what this movie was. Your signal's just too poor, Strenger. We tried. Appreciate you coming on the pod. I'm sure it did make the draft mom happy, and I'll tell her that you send her your love. All right, so my next film on the top 5 movies that we wish we could see again for the very first time. Apparently, I'm an old because all my movies were either from when Strenger was not born or too young. But actually, this one actually holds up. This one he might have actually had a chance to see as a burgeoning adult. Pirates of the Caribbean. And this is another one. And I guess I'll probably have a story every time when it comes to when I first saw these or how I first saw these. I think this is back during my movie review days, when I used to get screenings. I lived in LA. It was kind of before blogging, really, or at least blogging wasn't like a big thing. I was just kind of cranking these out for a local SoCal newspaper in the Black NLA site, blacknla.com. And I think I got a screening for this. I want to say I saw this at the El Capitan on Hollywood Boulevard. Anyways, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, it obviously is going to be. Obviously, is going to be is going to be a. Oh, and hold on 1 second. Technical difficulties. There we go. Sorry, we had to kick you. All right, and so I guess we'll cut around this. All right, anyways, so this is one where we kind of didn't know what to expect. We knew it was good. It was a big, splashy summer movie. Jerry Bruckheimer, Johnny Depp looking crazy. But no one really knew what to expect of Jack Sparrow. So when Depp came in with this slurring, androgynous craziness, sort of, I mean, it was a shock to the system. Matter of fact, there's very famous reports of how Disney would see dailies and were just shitting bricks because they did not know what Johnny Depp was doing. They're very fearful at the time, like idiots, that, what is he gay? Is he bi? Wait, what is he doing here? Why is he slurring his words? They just did not know what to make of his Captain Jack Sparrow. Well, turns out Captain Jack Sparrow was iconic, and for a movie based off of a theme park ride, well, hell, you could have done worse, right? So anyways, this was a great first viewing experience, mostly because we had some expectations, but they were totally subverted. It was more of a of it was a theme park ride of a movie as it was. It was just a great time at the movies. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was great. So definitely Pirates of the Caribbean. Definitely a movie that I wish I could see again for the first time, knowing what little I did going into it. Made stars out of everyone involved. Johnny Depp was already a star, but definitely gave Orlando Bloom some profile and cemented the love we had for Keira Knightley. I mean, I think she was in Love Actually the year after this, before this. Anyways, great Keira Knightley stuff. I used to have a wall. I'm sure I still have these portraits somewhere. I used to have a wall of framed portraits of just kind of, printed portraits of some of my favorite actors, not the best actors, but some of my favorite actors at the time that would adorn my living room wall. And Keira Knightley was on there, mostly on the strength of Pirates of the Caribbean. Well done, everyone involved. All right, so that makes 3 for me. So my fourth movie, and once again, we're going pre-Strenger, an homage to before Strenger was born. We're going Top Gun, damn it. And imagine this. Imagine you're 86, so I guess I was 10. My mom, Draft Mom, shout outs to her, because she took me to see this movie. This movie was rated PG, but yet obviously Tom Cruise gets some. It was a little embarrassing watching this with your mom to an extent at that age. But you know what? Shout outs to the Draft Mom. She knew I could handle it. And it's got some darker themes in there, We lose Goose up there in a tragic death. We have a lot of shit talking in the locker room. We have, MIG fights and dog fights and stuff like that. People, having to eject because their shit's on fire. Like, I get it. But Top Gun, this was an amazing movie to watch the first time, to see just the sheer star power. And Tom Cruise is still a star today, and he has truly, truly worked at it over the years. But this is just peak Tom Cruise. He's coming off The Color of Money. He's coming off of, he's coming off of what was that other movie he was in? Risky Business kind of kicked it off. Color of Money definitely added to his profile. He also had what was the one? Definitely before Jerry Maguire. 84 Tom Cruise was like the hottest thing going on around. Yeah, All the Right Moves. I wasn't really into Legend per se, but Risky Business definitely got him up there, and Top Gun is what made Tom Cruise Tom Cruise. I can't remember which one. I think maybe Top Gun did come out before Color of Money, but he had a hell of a year. Cocktail, a movie about bartenders, for crying out loud. He made that shit sizzle. Just such a great Tom Cruise stretch. And Top Gun is just, it's action, it's romance, it's friendship, tragedy, loss, redemption, and kind of like Armageddon, another one of those, fully backed by the U.S. Navy movies. It's, I forget what the actual stat, but Navy recruitment skyrocketed after this movie came out. It's basically a 2-hour advertisement to be a fighter pilot. It was great, and that bomber jacket, the iconic multi-patch bomber jacket, was a thing back then. Oh, and his aviators. I kind of wonder if the term aviators even came from this movie, because once he put on those iconic sunglasses, that also took off. This thing was just an ancillary marketing machine. So Top Gun, sexy, cool, the beach volleyball scene, iconic for all sorts of different reasons. Just a great time in the movies. I loved it. Loved it. Great first time seeing it with the Draft Mom in 86. All right, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and my final movie, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, actually, that might have been 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. That actually was 5, but you know what? We're gonna do a bonus one since we're missing Stranger's input, and I'm actually gonna do a bonus 2 real quick. Crimson Tide, Electric. Another great summer movie, 95. Yeah, so I saw this on summer break down in South Center, the old South Center AMC. Actually, South Center's AMC is there, but they moved it. It used to be a one-off, a big round theater. where everyone's another one of those, one screener, one offs or whatever. Great movie going experience. Once again, had no idea what to expect. You kind of thought, okay, what's this Hunt for October ripoff doing? But it was better than that. I mean, well, you know what? Actually, yes, I will say Crimson Tide is better than Hunt for Red October, even if Hunt for Red October kicked it all off. Just the tension between Hackman and Washington, just two all-time great actors at the top of their game. I mean, the world definitely misses Hackman. I know he retired. I think Hackman's last movie was Enemy of the State. Was it Enemy of the State? Which also great film, if you ask me. Oh no, actually his last movie was Welcome to Mooseport. Okay. Anyways, Hackman was just a great actor, great direction. Tony Scott, easily in my top 5 of all time action directors. I mean, this guy, speaking of Tony Scott, he was the one who also directed Top Gun, I do believe. So Tony Scott, just one of the all-time greats when it came to action movies. I mean, we miss him every day. His brother Ridley, no slouch either. He gave us Gladiator, which was also on my list, but we won't go into it. But this is just a great movie, extremely rewatchable. And I just remember how excited I was for a submarine movie. I had stumbled onto an entire genre I didn't know I loved, which was the submarine action flick. I love that stuff. Total cultural cul-de-sac and aside, there's one called The Wolf's Call. It is in French. It is excellent. You need to check it out. Yes, subtitles, whatever. Another one of the all-time great submarine flicks, The Wolf's Call. In the near future, a French submarine finds itself in an international crisis where, basically nukes are involved, geopolitical politics are involved, and they're trapped in a tin can, and everything kind of hinges on the sonar reading capabilities of their sonar tech. The guy they call they call him Socks. Was it Shuet? No, they call him Socks. And everything kind of hinges on this one dude's interpretation of what he's hearing. It's so thrilling. Just a great time. In streaming, I saw it on Netflix. I think it might still be on Netflix. So definitely check out The Wolf's Call if you're into submarine movies. And then, of course, the other bonus one I'll give you is Bad Boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we come for you? Yes, you gotta learn the words, man. You gotta learn the words. In 95, what a great time of the movies in 95, damn it. Bad Boys. Will Smith was doing his whole 4th of July debut thing. He owned 4th of July for something like 3 straight years, like Independence Day, Bad Boys, Wild Wild West, things of that nature. But Bad Boys, really did help elevate his action profile. I mean, and you have to remember, in 95, this was actually a risk, if you can believe that. Putting 2 comic actors together, one full-fledged comedian, Martin Lawrence, in an action movie, and have them be black? I mean, and they dumped a ton of money into this. Of course, this is Michael Bay's signature film. I think his first feature film. He was mostly known for commercials and music videos, and this put everyone on the map. It was great. And all sorts of great tales from production came out from this. The one I liked the best, that I heard most recently, was when Michael Bay insisted that Will Smith's shirt be off or something when he's running in the street, shooting guns, whatever. And Will Smith is famously pushing back, like, no, this makes no sense. Why is my shirt off? And then they came to a compromise, have it unbuttoned. And so that iconic shot of him running around the corner, shirt flying open, seeing all the young Will Smith, chest muscles and what have you. And just totally making him look like a movie star. And after they shot it and he showed the daily back to Will Smith on site, he was like, and that's why I just made you a fucking movie star, is what Michael Bay allegedly said. And it's true. Totally true. Everyone, look, Michael Bay, just young confidence, eternal. I mean, the guy just announced his presence with authority with a bang. Bad Boys, love it. One of my all-time favorite movies, and just the thrill of seeing two guys look like me, having fun, kicking ass, just true brotherly camaraderie. In Miami, of all places, just having a great time. It's just the ultimate summer escape movie. I loved it. So those are my films, and Bad Boys, what you gonna do now that we've come for you? Okay, and let us go to a break where we will explain to you the DraftStream game, and we'll give you our DraftStream update, and we will tell you all about the Cinema Draft game and how DraftStream game, which will be our signature product as we return from hiatus and redeveloping the site, and how you can play the DraftStream game and get involved on the alpha test action right now. And we're back. All right, so let's do with our quarantine movie of the week. Last week's quarantine movie of the week, and let me share my screen for those watching at home. Last week's quarantine movie of the week was Uncorked, which was a Southern sommelier in training who balances his own ambitions with the pressures of taking over the family barbecue restaurant business, set to a delightful hip-hop soundtrack. That was awesome. I enjoyed Uncorked and enjoyed some of your responses throughout social media. Today's quarantine movie of the week will be The Farewell. It will be up by the time you guys watch this as we post on Wednesday morning. But The Farewell, which was a nice, touching indie with Aquafina, basically a multi-generational story of how a Chinese American named Billy, who returns to China to see her beloved grandmother, there she goes, and an amazing performance by, I believe her name is Shuzhen Zhao. Oh my goodness, she was great. So, I mean, just a real shit-talking, spicy grandma. Basically, she returns to China to see her beloved grandmother before she dies, and the whole family, just to kind of keep her mind at ease, is all in on the secret that they're not going to tell her that she's actually dying. They just want her to live her normal life, enjoy her last few days without letting her know that she's actually dying. It's really touching and emotional. I enjoyed it tremendously, and like I said, great performances by the grandma. Shuzhen Zhao. She was awesome. And Aquafina too. Got some was it maybe a film festival and theater critic buzz. I don't think it quite made it to the Oscars, but it was a really great, touching movie. Give me your tweet-length review at Play Cinema Draft. This is us right here. Give us your tweet-length review and tell us what you think of The Farewell. All right, and actually now let me set this up for you real quick and do our DraftStream update. And as you heard for those of you listening on the podcast about the DraftStream game, it's basically our streaming adaptation of Cinema Draft, where we've come up with a whole new scoring system and a whole new bag to get you involved in the ratings and reviews of streaming content. That is how we do our scoring. Last week, Jaybird won yet again, demoralizing us for a fourth week in a row. Had a very solid call sheet. Still about 40 points off the pace from the perfect call sheet, which involved another lucky Chinese grandma, Vital, Diana Kennedy, and the trip to Greece. But his call sheet, which went with a bit of a spread it around strategy, was good enough to win for the fourth week in a row. He had a headliner stack of Control Z, had one headliner from Diana Kennedy, nothing fancy, 4-pack of Lucky Grandma, which was the highest scoring title in the talent pool this week, Penance headliner, and the headliner stack from the trip to Greece. I myself was close, but no cigar. If the trip to Greece had actually gotten a Rotten Tomatoes audience score, which was a bit of controversy in the group chat this week, then if it hadn't gotten a score of 77, I would have won this bitch. But what are you going to do? Anyways, taking a real quick look at this week's talent pool. It brings you a full 15 title slate of interesting streaming content. Everything from series to movies to miniseries. The quiz miniseries debut on AMC on Sunday night. We're trying our hand at Quibi once again. Don't let us down, Quibi. Quibi with the show Royalties, starring Kether Donahue and what's his face? John Stamos and Darren Criss. Darren Criss and Kether Donahue. There we go. So that should be interesting to see if that rates any scores before the weekend. Oh, we've also made some updates. 2 important updates we've made to the game. Low ball. Low ball is a new wrinkle we're adding to the main game. For those of you who are tired of competing with Jaybird, you can try to get low. Low ball is basically using the same rules to assemble a call sheet, but you must have a minimum of 50,000 on your scoring call sheet, 50,000 in salary used, a minimum of 3 different titles, and you are aiming to get the lowest score. So the lowest score in each week will get a bonus prize. So this week we have a $50 prize pool, $35 to first, $15 to second, with an additional $10 low ball bonus for the person who gets the lowest score while adhering to the low ball scoring rules. So check this out. Last week, the low ball perfect call sheet looks something like this. A lot of day players, a lot of the lowest scoring title to be sure. Also, you have to have a headliner, a co-star, and a day player, just like a normal call sheet. And this is what a low ball perfect score would look like, 652.94 points. Our low ball winner would be Red Ibis, our girl Deidre. I mean, and she tried. She wasn't aiming for the low ball, but she got it nonetheless. She had the lowest score. She had more than 3 titles. She had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She actually had 6 titles on here, which might have been the reason why her call she didn't perform better. But she, at 1,007 points, she was the lowest in our scoring right here, and she adhered to the rules, and she had over 50,000 in budget. So congrats to Deidre for the $10 bonus in the low ball, or at least thanks for playing. There you go. So it'll be very interesting to see if anyone goes for the low ball this week. It's achievable. There's $10 in free money able to be won every week if you adhere to the low ball standards. All right. And actually, if I get the low ball, I'm not saying that I'm going to go for it. If I get the low ball, then we'll just roll that money into the following week. All right. So for those of you going low, make sure you have 50,000 salary, 3 different titles, while maintaining the same call sheet characteristics as we know and love. We got some interesting titles to pick from here. Space Force is definitely going to be our most expensive title, a record for DraftStream so far. Look at this. $27,600 for Steve Carell. It's a no-brainer. Greg Daniels, Steve Carell, same guys from The Office. I'm excited. Everyone's going to have their eyeballs on it. It will definitely get rated in all 4 quadrants. So just look out for this. We will have a link in the description to this podcast episode to this week's game, and make sure you follow the rules and best practices on the rules tab, and make sure you submit these by Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, it's time to bring this in for a landing. I'd like to thank Strenger for trying to battle the issues. We appreciate your playing with us or your appearance on the pod this week. Sorry we couldn't get the technical difficulties worked out at your location. And we will be back next week with another great guest, talking more great Cinema Draft and DraftStream games. And while America is slowly opening up in spots, just be safe, be careful. I'm not going out until probably a month past safe. But please, if you do go out, be safe, wear a mask, keep your distance, and masking is caring. All right. Now, this is normally where I tell someone to go ahead and plug their ish. Strenger is gone with no ish to plug. But as we will sign off, and like to remind you, don't go out and see a movie or something. There are no real movies to see. Or if you do go see a movie, maybe a drive-in might be okay. Just be careful at the bathrooms and stuff. But if you're staying home, which we hope you are, quarantine with a movie or something and have a good time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for playing the DraftStream game. And we'll see you all next time. Peace.